Hello, my name is Drew Pearton, and I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, or high-functioning autism, when I was around 5 years old. And when my parents learned I was diagnosed with it, you know what they did? They got themselves educated. They went to counselors. They bought books. They bought and read several books on it. They pretty much learned everything they needed to know to figure out how to properly raise me with my autism. And thanks to them, along with the hard-working teachers at my schools, the very the very understanding and very hard-working teachers and counselors at my schools that I worked with, and the general just the general friendly atmosphere of my community, I've learned to accept my autism as a positive aspect of my identity, and I've learned to overcome many of the difficulties I've faced with it. Faced because of it. I mean, looking back when I was like in elementary and middle school, especially, I was a pretty difficult kid. I mean, if it pretty much anything could set me off. If anything made me the least bit uncomfortable, I'd just curl up into a ball on the floor and cry. I mean, I just didn't want to do anything. I was always on the ragged edge of disaster, and thanks to my teachers, thanks to my parents, I've learned to overcome that, and I've learned to be more comfortable in social situations, and thanks to my autism also, I've become very focused on my career and wanting and advancing my education, and I'm eternally grateful to all of them, to my parents especially, for putting in the effort. Which is why I am so appalled, and just appalled to the point of anger, that there are some parents out there whose children have autism, and some form of autism, whatever kind, and rather than put in the extra work that it would take to raise them, because raising kids should be easy, right? I suppose that's supposed to be an easy task. Yeah, right. But instead of doing that, they'd rather subject their kids to potentially lethal, dangerous, unproven treatments like chelation therapy to get rid of it. And even worse than that are the anti-vaccination movement. This whole anti-vaccination scare that claims that are influencing parents to not vaccinate their children out of fear that they might get autism from it. A claim, this link between autism and vaccinations, of course, has of course been disproven over and over again by various studies. And also, it's demonstrably true that vaccinations have saved thousands, if not millions, of lives for generations. And yet, because out of fear of autism, children are being put at risk of potentially deadly diseases by parents who would apparently rather let their kids suffer and die than live with autism. Which I don't get how that kind of sociopathy can be so rampant, but sorry for saying that. I really shouldn't think of other people as sociopaths just for that. I mean, I'm sorry, okay, if I came off strong there. This just really gets to me. And I just want to say and I just want to point out that according to some sources, the anti-vaccination scare has caused several diseases, most of which have been not been seen for decades, been dormant for decades, to break out again. Like retrovirus, measles, polio, causing almost 15,000 deaths that could have been prevented through vaccination, all out of a fear of autism, which I have learned to live with, which I have learned to overcome because of the support system of my parents, my education, and my community. And at the center of all this is Generation Rescue, Jenny McCarthy's organization that promotes this anti-vaccination, vilifies autism, promotes crack and potentially lethal medical practices like chelation therapy, and perhaps even worse than all that, vilifies and defames hard-working and life-saving doctors who have worked on and promote vaccination, and also those who work on who promote proper counseling for autistic children and families with autistic children. So, for all these reasons, on change.org, I have begun a petition asking for 10,000 signatures from people who agree that Generation Rescue should publicly retract all of their statements about vaccination and autism and about the medical practices they have promoted, and that they should redirect all of their resources, their entire organization and resources should be redirected to promoting proper counseling and proper support for parents with autistic children and autistic children themselves, so that no child with autism or anywhere on the autistic spectrum will ever be denied the support system that I had, and I feel that every autistic child should have, and I will not just sit idly back and allow any child on the autistic spectrum to be denied the kind of love and support I have received, because frankly, it's not just autistic children that deserve that. Everyone deserves that kind of support when they're growing up. So I implore any of you watching this, to click on the link in this video description and please sign my petition if any of this means anything to you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if anyone from Generation Rescue is watching, I'm sorry if I come off as insulting, but I feel that this is what you should do. Please understand. And thank you for your time. I'm Drew Pearden.